Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Arts in Our Schools Month. Woo woo! My name is Quanice Floyd, and I am the Executive Director of Arts Education in Maryland Schools.
Good afternoon.
And I'm so happy to have you all here. Sorry, that was a technical glitch. But I'm so happy to have you all here. And so at Arts Education in Maryland Schools, we believe in mobilizing power to communities through advocacy programs, professional leadership programs, and resource building and sharing. So this month, we're celebrating Arts in Our Schools Month with various activities and highlights of arts education and arts educators from around the state of Maryland. And every week, we'll be hosting Facebook Live sessions with amazing artists, arts educators, education advocates, and policymakers. Please be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Our username is @ArtsEdMaryland, and use the hashtag ArtsInOurSchoolsMD, and We All Deserve Arts to follow along and join in on the celebration. This week, we have an amazing panel of arts education advocates for our theme of Arts Education is Transformative. We have Brian Schneckenburger from the Maryland Music Educators Association, Sandra Atkinson from the Maryland Dance Education Association, Steve Barker from the Maryland Theater Education Association, and Christopher Whitehead from the Maryland Art Education Association. So they'll introduce themselves in just a minute, but I first want to say that I'm so excited to have two prominent arts educators with us today, Krystal Williams and Cromwell, as our co-moderators for today's discussion. And so Krystal and Kristen, welcome. We're so glad to have you. Please feel free to introduce yourselves to our audience.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Kristen Cromwell. I am a Baltimore County Public Schools English and theater teacher for the last 8 years. I am a new member of the board of directors with AEMS, very excited about that. And I am also the director of play development for Two Strikes Theater Collective, which is a brand new collective of Black women theater artists in Baltimore.
Hello, my name is Crystal Williams, and I am the band director at Western High School for Girls, the oldest all-girl public high school in the nation, celebrating 176 years. I have been a music teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools for now 14 years, and this is the only place I've ever known as home as an educator, and I love being here. On my part-time, or what I call my Batgirl job, I am the music technology chair for the Maryland Music Educators Association. And let me mute my phone. I thought I turned it off. And I also run something called the Band Directors Toolbox on Facebook, where we share pedagogy ideas, which has been very helpful in during this time of 2020 to 2021.
Oh, cool. That sounds dope. So that's us. We now like to introduce each of our panelists. We'd like to ask each of them to introduce themselves. We have Christopher, Brian, Sandra, and Steve. Please take 2 minutes to describe your role in the arts education ecosystem and a little bit about your professional association for us, please.
Sure. Hi, I'm Christopher Whitehead. I am the MAEA, the Maryland Art Education Association president. I'm also the visual art teacher specialist for Anne Arundel County Public Schools. And teacher specialist is a support position. So I support 192 art teachers, K through 12. And because I'm a support role, I'm non-evaluative, which means I can go in, observe a teacher, give them resources, strategies, suggestions, ideas, and not write a formal observation of them. So it's really great because I'm never the bad guy. I'm not the one that's evaluating them. I'm just there to help, which is an amazing role to have. I know that not every county can have a support person like that per content, but it's awfully nice that we have that. This is my 21st year in education. I've taught elementary, middle, high, museum ed, and adults. So I've kind of run the gambit, which is why I'm now a support person. As the MAEA president, it's my second presidency because before moving here, I was in Massachusetts and I was the president of the MAEA Massachusetts before that. So this organization is just art teachers. And it's run by its members. So we literally are run by members, for members. We're part of the larger national organization, the MAEA, which is very dear to my heart. It's actually where I met my wife. So at the state level, we do everything we can to advocate for visual art teachers.
Great, I'll go next. My name is Brian Schneckenburger, and I serve as president of the Maryland Music Educators Association. My position in my day job is as supervisor of music and dance education for the Baltimore County Public School System. Myself, along with my team members, support our 375 music and dance teachers. This is my 23rd year in public education. My 10th as an administrator. Before I was in Baltimore County, I was in Baltimore City as their coordinator of fine arts. And before that, I was an instrumental music teacher. As far as what Maryland Music Educators Association does, we're the professional association for music educators in Maryland. Our mission is to provide professional development for music educators, opportunities for students to engage in statewide music activities, and to serve as an advocate and to advance music education in Maryland schools. We also advocate for music education's place as part of a well-rounded education at the federal, state, and local levels. Given that description, we provide professional development to teachers and students in the form of conferences, as well as showcase students through a number of performing opportunities throughout the year, most notably our state adjudication, solo and ensemble, and all state ensemble experiences, which engage thousands of students from across Maryland each year.
Hi, I'm Sandra Atkinson. I am on the executive board for Maryland Dance Education Association. I'm also the chair of the VPA and Comprehensive Dance Program at Northwestern High School in Prince George's County, and the artistic director and founder of Light Switch Dance Theater that also has a education program that we are in the works of building up and serving the community. MDEA is an organization that supports dance educators in the state of Maryland in all sectors, K through 12, higher education, private sector, and community organizations. We support dance teachers through workshops. Like right now, we have our special topics workshops going on in the month of February, March, and April, where we're providing teachers with all the resources that we can to teach not only virtually, but hybrid and in person. We are also doing our April session is all about somatics and mindfulness in the classroom. We look at dance from a holistic point of view, where we're looking to support teachers who are working more for performance and choreography, all the way through to theory, history, theory, history, and community organizations that are looking to bring dance from an arts integration perspective. So we really look to serve all of the dance community in Maryland and make sure that they have all the resources they need, as well as our students. We have many showcases and scholarship programs that we offer students in Maryland to be able to further their careers. And we also have programs for teachers to be able to continue their education in dance so that they can better serve the community.
So cool being with all these really cool people. Hi, I'm Steve Barker. I am the treasurer of MTEA. All of our theater teachers, all of the other theater teachers in our board are teachers, and they're working right now and probably in rehearsals. So I have been the treasurer of MTEA for 3 years, and I want to give a shout out to one of our early presidents, Joanna Chilka Fellows, who, you know, part of the reason we're all here is we get grabbed into these things and say, hey, you're really good at this. And so, but I'm a proud member of MTEA. My day job right now, I have been in education for 21 years as a theater educator. I have worked in public schools. I have worked in Department of Defense schools. I have worked as a college professor. I am currently the managing director of Story Tapestries, which is a teaching artist organization out of Montgomery County. We do a lot of arts integration works with all of these wonderful counties you just heard from. We're very proud to be a teacher partner in that respect. But Maryland Theater Education Association, our mission is to connect, support, and empower theater educators through fellowship, professional development and advocacy. Our commitment is to serve our theater educators and teaching artists in the state of Maryland through professional development and advocacy. As I said, our professional development approach focuses on the theater's educator's skill as an artist. We are a teacher-focused organization who believes that serving the theater teacher as an artist empowers them to be a great teacher. In fact, not 3 weeks ago, we just had our annual conference called Thrive, which had a great racial equity focus. We deliver PD throughout the entire year. This year in particular, it was important. Anything from radio drama to just how are we doing, to just improv nights where we get together and just have fun as teachers.
And Stephen, I think that's a great segue to our next question. We all know that the arts have been very influential in our lives because that's why we're here. But the question to the panel is, can you share an anecdote of how the arts has been transformative in the lives of your students? If you can name a student or a group of students that you have seen the arts work wonders for. And I guess,
So first of all, I think of all Maryland students as my students, because as the president of a state organization, that's who we serve. That's who we live to serve. And that's who we need to focus on, especially now. There are countless stories about the ways that music in particular has served as a transformational force in the lives of students. But there's that one kid that always pops into your head when you think about this question, particularly for me. As an instrumental music teacher, I had a high school student, we'll call him John. John was a senior when I started at the school where I taught him. John skipped every class throughout the course of the school day. He didn't find them engaging, as he'd later tell me. But at 1:35 every day, he came through the side door of the school and made it to band on time to play percussion. He graduated that June, paid his way through college, and is now a software engineer. Still my friend on Facebook, John has told me that band was the thing that kept him from dropping out and finishing school. We all think about the students that we've had that have become one of us, right? And I've got a student now who's a teacher in the county where I work. And I've got another one who's a U.S. Army Herald trumpet. Those are wonderful stories, but there's a larger impact that we're having on students' lives. And that's just one example, but it's the first one that pops to mind every time for me.
And anyone can chime in. I can see everybody kind of have a smile with that question because
I'll go next.
Just think about that kid.
Yeah, I'll go ahead next. So today, I'm not gonna lie, I'm teaching residencies right now, and it's students who don't have fluency or aren't using fluency, they need fluency work, and puppetry does that, right? And I just love puppets because they're just so activating. And this is about, these are weather puppets, right? So this is my volcano. The teachers got volcanoes. We got to pick ours, but there's a moment, and I think we all have it regardless of the art, where the kid's face lights up because they got something and they got it on their own, and then all of a sudden they take off. Right. And I'm thinking of the classrooms I've been in, I still have this group of 12. The very first year I was teaching in Virginia in Falls Church, and it's my group of 12 freshmen who went all the way through senior year with me. And they're all, Facebook friends and all that. One of those kids I think is in performance. The rest of them are all just amazing people. And they will all come back and say, it was your class that taught me this, or your class that taught me that. And I remember one of the things that was really powerful is it's the student, when the student blossoms or unveils or unfolds and becomes that kid, the better part is there's a moment where their parent comes to thank you, and you may not realize it. And I remember one student, I won't mention her name, but she was staying, theater kids, they stay all these hours. Like, why is my kid at your school till 11 o'clock at night? It's because she's really good at painting. Anyway, so we're working really hard, and the parent comes in, and first semester, she chews me out because her kid's staying so late. I was like, all right, I'm sorry, we won't do that again. Not second semester, she comes and she goes, I need to apologize. I said, why? She goes, my child's found their passion and you did that. And so there's a two-parter, right? There's this thing that you knew, that just giving a kid a chance to, and art is also about failure. Like, but it's a safe environment to fail and make yourself better. And that's what we do in ways I don't think a lot of other subjects do. We allow students to fail, find themselves, and then boom, take off.
That's awesome. It's the fact that it's not quantifiable. We can't put numbers and we can't put it in a spreadsheet. And you know, unfortunately, sometimes that makes, you know, some people uncomfortable, but it serves its purpose to who we are supposed to serve the most, which is our students. Would anybody else like to chime in?
I was just going to say, you know, I've had many students, I agree, you know, they come to school for the arts, you know, a lot of times, even on their worst days, you know, there's something about being in that community that the arts allows to, you know, in your brave space, your safe space to happen. And you have the experience of being with the students a little bit longer than a lot of the other academic classes. And you are traveling together, you're on stage together, you're in production together. And there's just that community that is built. And, you know, I was in higher education for 13 years and then was, you know, went from higher education to K through 12. And I remember walking into the classroom the first day, and I had a senior, and it was like, this is the way we do it here. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And I was like, all right. And then all of a sudden, you know, just by listening, you know, under being an active listener, watching the students, see what they can do, and then just feeding with, you know, creating a curriculum of rigor, but also allowing them to have a voice within that curriculum. By the end of the year, you know, this student who was like, I'm not majoring in dance, although he doesn't have a future, was like, okay, well, then I opened up, instead of saying and preaching, I just opened up all of these avenues through the community. Look, this is what you can do in the arts. You know, and you don't have to just major in one thing. You can major in two things. You can double major. Let's see how the arts infuses all these different disciplines and academics. And he ended up going to UMBC and double majoring, and has started a huge group on public policy and dance and advocacy. And now he's, you know, a guest artist back at our high school, working with the seniors that were freshmen his first year. And just to see that full circle of, you know, him, you know, telling me what was what the first day, and then allowing the art to kind of speak in the classroom, and now just seeing his growth. You know, I mean, he's still got so much growing to do, but just seeing in the 3 years his growth, and now he's, you know, the person leading rehearsal and talking to the students. It's just a really wonderful thing. And I think a lot of arts educators have that experience where we get to see that full circle. And it comes from building that community in the classroom from day one.
That's so powerful. Christopher, I guess, you know.
Yes, so I just, you know, so much of what I've heard echoes some of my experience. I have a couple of previous students who are now, you know, professional photographers and that kind of thing. But what gets me is just like some of my colleagues were saying, is just the power of the arts to compel students to achieve their best. It doesn't matter if they go into the arts, if they're a lawyer or a banker or anything, you know, the ability to visualize and conceptualize, which is what we do in visual arts a lot, is just a skill set that's so important to have. Almost every industry can benefit from having that visualization ability. But one of my favorite memories, though, was actually a parent, not the kid. The parent came to me and thanked me and said, as a high school boy, she said, I don't know what you're doing right, but every day that he doesn't have art, I have to battle with him to get him out of bed, to get him out the door, to get him to go to school. He doesn't want to go to school, but on B days, when he has you for art, he wants to go to school. So, you know, again, I don't know what I was doing right, but it was definitely the arts were a motivation for that student to come to school and you know, achieve, which is great.
Yeah, that's excellent. I think it is really important, and a lot of kids find their voice, and it's one of the very few ways that they feel as though people are listening to them and hearing them, when they can indulge in their passion, their artistic passion. So that's beautiful that you all have those stories. And speaking of those anecdotes, I just wanted to pose the question of what do you think that we can do as educators in the arts and administrators in the arts to convey to decision makers that these anecdotes don't just aren't just nice stories, but they're actually visions of abundance that all children are entitled to. So how can we use these beautiful stories, these uplifting stories about those students to convince those decision makers that every single child in Maryland and beyond is entitled to the arts?
I think part of what decision makers need a lot of times is some data to help solidify, you know, these concepts that we're trying to say are important. And I'm not saying that the data is very robust yet, but I do feel like a lot of data has been, or a lot of research has gone in recently into careers and career types and kind of the creative need that's in most industries now. That research is, I feel, being done more now than it ever has been, which I think is going to produce some data that's helpful in convincing lawmakers and other decision makers that you know what we do is not a secondary fluff type content. It actually has really strong value, no matter what college career or whatever the student goes into.
And I would add, I'd go, you know, I literally on my screen, I have Bloom's, right? That's how nerdy a teacher I am. On my desktop screen is Bloom's taxonomy. But my question to those decision makers is, where do you want them to stop? Because if you want them to stop at remembering and understanding and applying, great, don't have an arts class. Let's cut them all, great. But if you want creators who are going to solve all the problems that, by the way, we caused, right? Like, then we need arts classes, because I don't know of another class that is about creating. Like literally, it's the whole fundamental crux of art is creation. And I find myself when I'm talking to folks, it's like me having a kid devise a monologue about why they how they got through their grandmother's passing, right? That's not about that monologue. It's not even about that experience. But it's going to be, but honestly, that kid going through making that monologue, it might be what pushes them into medicine. And then that process of from idea to ideation to creation to refinement is going to be the thing that helps them figure out the cure, because it's the pathway of creation we are carving in the brain. And we do have that brain-based research. It is that's going to make our doctors, our engineers, but also our better public servants, right? I honestly believe the problem with Congress is they don't have a theater department. Because if Congress was acting instead of, well, whatever they're doing, they would be coming up with better solutions. And so that's where I think I speak from, is we need art because we need everyone to get the highest part of Bloom's so we can solve the problems of the world. And that's why when people are saying we don't have enough problem solving issues, I said, well, maybe less math and more, I don't know, music, stage carpentry, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, or the geometric mean out of art and finding that balance. Do that, put that to use in creativity, then you won't have issues.
Agreed. I just want to say, you know, I'm sorry, Brian. I just wanted to chime in. I mean, you know, yes, data is very important. That's the way we see things. But at the same time, you know, walk into any arts class, whether it is, you know, an arts integration class, the arts can be infused into any pathway, right? You can walk into a dance class and they're, you know, interpreting a visual art piece. They're through movement, you know, we're using text and we're looking at themes and variations and, you know, tone and content and what's the intention? Why are we doing what we're doing? There's a constant inquiry that happens in the arts that, you know, I don't know many people that, you know, walk into a space where they're not constantly questioned. You know, from the moment a dancer walks into a dance studio, do you have on the right clothes? Do you have, is your hair pulled back? Okay, where are you standing today? Okay, what is that movement? Why are you doing that? Where is the initiation? Where is your center? Okay, how are we thinking about that choreography? What is your interpretation? There's all these questions, and there's this constant feedback of information, whether it be from the teacher to the student or the student to a peer. There's not many other classrooms where you're walking in and that's happening all in one class. You know, there's group work. There's problem solving constantly. There's application of constructive criticism. How do I apply that information to me and my body? I'm never surprised when a dancer goes into nursing or the medical field. Of course, it's anatomy. You know, it's like, to me, it's like a no-brainer. And the fact that we stepped away from this concept that we need all things holistic education to be the best creators, to be the best people, somewhere along the lines, you know, after ancient Greece, we lost that. And that doesn't make any sense, because you can't really be an innovator if you don't have a 360 way of thinking.
Absolutely. And so many of the things that you know my colleagues here have already hit on are so true and so resonant. You know, I think about research, I think creative thinking, and I think about how important they are in telling our story to decision makers. Another angle that we could consider, and I'm kind of a quantitative nerd, for those of you who know me and maybe those of you who don't, but creative economy is a huge angle that's found a lot of resonance in terms of the advocacy story. You know, creative economy in Maryland is a $1 billion plus driver in the state economy. And that's one huge number, I think, that, you know, people have in mind. You know, in Maryland, we're fortunate in terms of our macro decision makers in that we're not having to sell it, right? But, you know, the other thing I think about is equity across the state, equity across for every Maryland kid. And from an equity standpoint, if we're denying students the learning, you know, access to the learning and the ways of thinking that only the arts can teach, we're perpetuating disproportionalities, right? And I think as a result, you know, the question about conveying to decision makers these ideas, we need to bring the words of children and students to those decision makers. You know, for MMEA each year, we meet with all, you know, as part of our larger national organizations push, we do meet with congressional staff, and we take a small delegation of executive board members as well as a college student to tell their story about how music has really transformed their lives and their being and really kind of set their path for the rest of their lives. We as an organization work to assure that those voices, you know, also represent Maryland and all of its diversity. Additionally, I think we need to continue to invite decision makers into our spaces, even the skeptical ones. So like I said, Maryland, we have an embarrassment of riches in terms of, you know, the folks that are, you know, doing the pushing at Washington and Annapolis, but there are some resistant voices. You know, I think back to my Hill Day time again with NAFME, and there's one member of Congress that we visit each year. We make sure that we visit them each year, but they're, you know, a little less friendly to the messaging than the rest, but that's who we need to focus on. And continuing to invite them into our spaces and into our classrooms to have them see firsthand, because nobody's going to say it like a kid can. So I would think about inviting them, even if you don't think that they'll attend, but maybe one of their people will, and we'll take that back.
It's interesting how a lot of your answers kind of have automatically segued to this next question. And I was reading it like, I was like, do I even ask the question at this point? But I get a sense of this word agency when we talk about what the arts does. It's the most unifying thing that we have on this earth. I mean, there's no culture that exists without it. There are cultures that exist without other aspects of of things that we kind of put a hierarchy over. But when we think about societies, they're not testing people to be a better human being. There's no test for that. They use their connection to arts, and that becomes part of the culture, and the culture is enriched by it. And so I agree with, like, you know, just the whole panel. And it just seems like we don't have enough agency behind the things that we do. And that's deeply impacting our students. So because of that, the next question, which you've sort of answered, but it gives you a good place to elaborate. Why is arts education central to creating a healthy society in which our children can thrive?
So I'm going to bat lead off on this one. Krystal, you just mentioned that culture doesn't exist without the arts. And that's because culture can't exist without itself. The arts are culture. They're the thing that makes culture. And I think the old answer, the old response to this question would have been a little different than maybe what I'm going to share today. In that, you know, it gives students a deeper insight into society and a means of personal expression. However, in the past year, of course, with all of the things that we've dealt with, both in terms of the pandemic and in terms of, you know, the racial unrest and upheaval after a murder of George Floyd, a further emphasis has been placed, and rightfully so, I think, on students' social emotional well-being as they seek to process all of this. And it's something that I know MSDE has tackled, you know, in the arts as part of a curricular thing. And my friend Alicia Lee has really driven that work. I'm sure that without having the cast list in front of me, some of my colleagues would have been involved in that work as well. But I think that the arts, more than any other mode of engagement that we could discuss, allow for this kind of processing. And so, you know, this point really speaks for the need to deepen that for students.
I was
think,
gonna,
oh, go ahead. You are me. No, go ahead. I was about to call on you.
I was just going to say exactly, like, you know, students are having to process everything. And there's been so much that have happened in the last year. Just there's been a huge push for, you know, SEL. I'm like, well, you know, every arts class I know, SEL is the first thing we do all the, like, that is what we do. You know, we're constantly checking in, but, you know, it's the constant decision making, the constant questioning of how we are and how we feel that day, and how does that transfer to our art is, you know, something that our students are doing from day one. And I think having to always process those emotions, or even say you don't know how to process those emotions, and what do you do with that? You know, why? And you're questioning individual identity, you're questioning social and cultural identity constantly, and that breathes through the arts. And so, of course, you know, you're going to be a better human being because you're hearing things from all different sides, and then you're processing that into what is your voice within that. And so then students are thinking on this deeper and higher level that, you know, you don't really get from other places. Like, I agree, you know, do we want them to stop right at, you know, application, or do we want them to apply and then go even deeper? How far can we go? There's no one answer. There should be many different answers. And then we question those answers. And that's what we do in the arts constantly. We know that there's never a work that's finished, you know, because we can come back to it, you know, in 5 days, and it look different, feel different, and you can, you know, go back into it. So it is about getting the students past that surface. Let's go deeper. Let's process it deeper. And the students are willing to do that, because if you're creating a space where they have that autonomy, then, you know, they get to make decisions and they get to really process things on a deeper level.
I think part of what Sandra was just saying is the arts really amplify that there's not just one answer to most problems. You know, in some content areas, there's a question, there's an answer. In the arts, there really isn't. There's many, many ways to answer the creative problem. Another thing that I think the arts really bring back into our society is this concept of critique and criticism and growing from it. So, you know, we really push this in the art studio, where, you produce what you produce. You put your heart into it, your meaning into it, you display it for others, and then we get feedback from the others. We get critique, either peer critique or teacher critique or whatever, and then you internalize that, you reinterpret, you decide, if you're going to edit, if you're going to change. I think a lot of people in society that are too rigid is because they don't know how to critique. They don't know how to take criticism or critique and benefit from it, learn from it, grow from it, produce something better from it. And the arts really do push that, whether it's performing arts or visual arts. I mean, the idea of getting the input from others to help influence is just a vital step.
Yes to all of that. So there we go. And Brian, your eyes, they got so big when you're like, yes, that's the whole thing. Okay. I just, you said something about society. What proof of society do we have that is not the arts? You go the furthest back we can go. Even that the first made spear was not a piece of art, but the one that the guy in the hill died with was, because he took pride in putting that spear together. Every note, every paint stroke, every dance move, every piece of text that is in our archives of art is all that remains of these societies, right? Writing itself, like on whatever tablets of clay. Well, someone had to figure out pottery. Let's look at that for a moment, right? Someone had to figure out, or chiseling into stone, masonry. Those are arts. The only proof we have of existence is art, right? And so how can we not have a healthy society if we're not looking at that and showing our students where we came from and where we're going? And if we stop creating, we stop recording society. So then what are they going to look for? I mean, I love Marvel, but Marvel Studios cannot be what, and I need to point out, between the music that was created, the movement that was created, the background art that was created, and the acting lines that were created for WandaVision. Let's just talk about the last 9 episodes of that. That was all of us. That was all kids we potentially taught, right? And so that, and if that becomes the one piece left of society, it's still art. It just happens to be recorded, and it's that recording. And so I don't understand how we can expect children to survive without learning how to record their society and performance in however we look at it. And performance, not necessarily performing art or visual art is performing too, because it's a performance so that you share it at the end, right? It's all rehearsal till you put it out there. And so that, to that point, and then to the racial equity piece that Brian was talking about, we're in this fantastic time where we have to recognize that we put one art above the rest, and we need to get rid of that and say the entire world has histories and cultures that we need to see, because there's something we haven't learned from the arts that we haven't looked at, right? The entire African diaspora has art that I'm sure has lessons that humanity has lost because we stopped listening, we stopped watching, we stopped appreciating. And so that's what I don't understand, is when decision makers are looking at us and saying, oh, well, we're going to cut you guys because you're not essential. What are you're cutting history, you're cutting math, you're cutting science right there. How many inventions came about from from theater or math or music? Theater and music. How many inventions came about because someone wanted to tinker and make a better instrument, or someone wanted to make the curtains work, or in dance someone wanted to figure out a new way to express with, and then so that an invention got created. Marley floor, right? Who knows how Marley floor really came about? I'm sure, Sandra, you could tell us. But science was driven by the arts, because we had to evaluate, analyze, and then create new. So when I'm looking at it, and I scare legislators, let's just be honest, but when I go at them, I said, do you want your children to be able to communicate the brilliance of society long after you're gone? Because if you cut the arts, they can't do it.
That's a very good point. Yeah, Krystal, what were you going to say?
I'm just floored because it's so many great nuggets to advocacy that's just happening. And it's all because at some point we didn't have this fullness of the arts, and then it became a part of us. And then in sense, it becomes a part of society. Every time it becomes a part of our student, it's now a part of that society, that culture, and it gets to grow and evolve. And I just worry when we talk about data, because data has a cap. Nobody walks around and says there's a cap on love. There's a cap. We don't cap emotions. And I feel like the arts, because they evoke emotion, that's like you're trying to put a cap on the human experience by itself when we don't have these things. I'm just floored by, ooh, I'm over here finding every response. I'm going to go back and watch this like I'm watching WandaVision. Thanks for that.
No, I was going to say about one of it, my 5-year-old would agree with you. Agatha all along, I was like, what about this song? Are you obsessed with, like, it's brilliant. It's like beautiful. And as an arts educator, so we talk about like, how is it going to lead to a healthy society? I know that, especially from the last year, I know every educator can attest to, and between the 6 of us, we have about a century of, educators' experience. So there's definitely teacher burnout in the last year. There's definitely teacher burnout before, the pandemic hit. And even if you are an arts educator, you are educating in the day, and you're probably sponsoring something after school. You're probably staying late so that your students can showcase, what they have put months and so much time and energy and effort into. So, I for myself, I am just like kind of like always bleakly like smiling at the final performance, just like, yes, you did it. Like, you're so wonderful, and I'm so proud of you. But what can people do? We talked about what legislators can do, those are the decision makers. But what can everybody else do to support arts educators? What are you seeing when you go into schools, when you go into classrooms, dance studios, into theaters, auditoriums? What can we do as Marylanders to support our arts educators?
Well, I guess I'll play the role of the big mouth. So I think about, where we are right now in education all across the country, right? So districts in Maryland and across the country are reopening their school doors to students. Notice I said school doors, not reopening schools. Something, Kristen, you just alluded to. You were talking about, how teachers, and I would add administrators are working in overdrive mode right now in terms of the things that we're doing to provide those outstanding experiences that we know that our children are entitled to. And when I think of, from a music education perspective, we're also looking at whether or not some of those things that we think about that when we do the thing might or might not be able to take place within school buildings. So such as, singing or playing musical instruments. Certainly the most important people in that equation are the students and teachers. And I think that those folks, in addition to the parents and community members, need to make their voices heard in school buildings and local and state school board meetings. Take the opportunity to write representatives, both Maryland and federal, to let them know about the importance of arts education as part of a well-rounded education. And if that language rings a bell, it's the law, right? And so, there's a leg up on that one. We've also heard from representatives of, the 4 Maryland arts education professional organizations, and, reach out to us, but there are also multiple other organizations in Maryland dedicated to arts and arts education, including our wonderful hosts, the Arts Education in Maryland Schools Alliance, the Maryland Citizens for the Arts, the Maryland State Arts Council, and of course, the Maryland State Department of Education. We have a very powerful in-house advocate right now in Alicia. But it really takes everyone to do this. It's not just people, presenting on a Facebook Live session, and it's not just the people listening to that Facebook Live session, of which I hope there are hundreds of thousands right now. But it's everyone in the community coming together and making their voices heard that this is a priority for arts education. I will avail myself that you can contact me at any time. I'm sure that my colleagues here will concur to determine how you can get involved in this process.
I feel like,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I feel like, and I think Brian was speaking to it earlier, as far as the arts go, Maryland is actually very rich in support for the arts. I go to national conferences and I hear what's happening with the arts and cuts and things in other states, and I'm just flabbergasted. It's unbelievable. So I'm very happy that we are as proactive as we are, but we can also always get a little bit more support. And the only thing that I really, what bothers me visual art wise across the state is that we're not all equal as far as time given to the art forms. And in my county, we're pretty art supportive, and some of the larger counties are. But you know, there's some counties that I know of where, you know, they get art class once for 30 minutes every other week, you know, whereas they're in, you know, some of the other subjects every day for an hour. So it you know, just that time being different is what bothers me the most. I think as parents, as community members, you know, anytime we could advocate for more time for the arts, so at least equal time for the arts, I think that would be a more even playing field for those critical skills that we are trying to teach, you know, through the artistic mediums.
I was just going to say, you know, listen to the students. I mean, you know, like when, you know, they're saying I'm going to school, you know, because not only do I want to do well in my academic classes, but I want to, you know, be a part of the arts community at my school. I'm working towards this, you know, performance. I'm working towards this exhibition. You know, the students need support, and a lot of times they are the ones that are getting the word out in ways that, you know, we can't. You know, I always put the advertisement of anything that we're doing or celebrating my students' work, you know, in places where they can share it too, because they're a part of this huge community that I don't even know about, you know. And so I think sometimes just listening to young people, no matter how old they are and how important this is to them, and if they can convey that to their parents and their parents listen, or to a community member and a community member listens and then advocates, hey, I know this young person across the street, they're in this, you know, in this ensemble, you know, come and see them, like support, you know, the students and listen to them, because they have a lot to say. And I think I know through Maryland Dance Education Organization, we have the students have a huge voice. You know, I mean, our National Honor Society is not just an honor society for dance, but it's all about dance going into the community. What can we do in the community? And so again, you know, students have a lot to say. Young people have a lot to say. And if you're not going to listen to the arts educators, then listen to the students that are experiencing and making and questioning and, you know, learning every day. Listen to what is their reactions. You know, I know for me, I have a 5-year-old and she's struggling to recognize her letters because we're in this weird virtual place where she wasn't in preschool, you know, but like today I'm using a song to help her recognize letters. It's, you know, it doesn't take, we don't think about those things all the time when you're watching a movie, like, you know, it's the sound, it's the multi-sensory, multidisciplinary element that makes it a movie. You know, so that those things can't thrive without the arts. And so when you look at the things that we look at every day, that we experience every day, arts has, you know, everything to do with that. So disassociating the arts a lot of times doesn't make any sense. And so think about those little things all the time, that if we didn't have color or didn't recognize color, you know, when would we know to stop and go? I mean, like, you know, and so I think just listening to students, because those are the things, you know, when they're in pre-K all the way up, that we're constantly bringing, hey, look at this is artistic as well, or look at this, listen to them, and then allow that to kind of feed, hey, we need the arts. We can't function as a society without the arts. It is the human experience.
Oh, I have to put the button on it. Okay. So I've got two themes. One is first and foremost, if you're listening to this, the four of us here that are the representatives of our state organizations, I am putting a call out to every arts teacher. If you haven't already join, because we're doing the work to make sure. I need to say that we're doing and if you have an arts teacher and say, hey, are you joined to the state organization? If they're not, I kid you not, give them a Christmas present, buy them a membership, get them to be, because we can only represent the voices of Maryland's arts students by representing the voices of Maryland's arts teachers. That's the first thing. Space. I heard this said, space. Respect band rooms, respect dance recital rooms, respect art rooms, respect the auditorium and the theater spaces. I'm not going to call out the school, but I'm pretty sure it's more than one has put all the extra desks for spacing where on the stage. What does that communicate to the art students? What does it communicate to the art students when their gallery is filled up with random supplies because the principal can't find another place? Go rent a trailer, put them outside. Stop taking away creative space because it's actually saying something to the students. Time. I am the biggest advocate is I think we have one graduation arts credit in the state, 2, 3. Why are we discounting creativity for other classes? And I love my CTE colleagues. I love foreign language colleagues. There's nothing wrong with that. But the students need more than one art form. I love the band students who jump over and become technical theater students. I love the art students who's like, yo, I want to paint the set. All right, cool. Oh God, I love my student choreographers. And then all of a sudden they want to act, and then I get them, and then y'all get mad at me. But that's okay, because that's what they also need. It's not just one art form. We need all, they need 2. They can do 1 for 2 or 2 for 1 and keep going. But it's it's the 12 students that stayed with me all 4 years that are my successes. And I don't care what they do in life. I care because they learned how to work together as a unit, as people. They are successful because they can say, I know how to work. I know how to behave at work because I learned how to work with that jerk that was in that second production of mine. I said, yeah, I know that. And then supply. Stop shorting us. All of Chris's teachers need a full budget, period, to teach whatever they want. Anytime we need new curtains for Sandra's show or my show or new lights, you just need to drop the cash. For every kid in Maryland should have a new instrument to play within 5 years. And we should be shorting the arts classrooms, because that's where it gets happen, we get shorted, right? And those are my 4 things: is membership, space, time, and supply. But I'm going to go into the other thing. I'm a big fan of Daniel Pink, and his first book was A Whole New Mind. And he had 6 principles for the new economy. New economy, folks, like where our economy is going, because there's no industrialization left for the United States. Design, story, sympathy, empathy, play, and meaning. Gee, what do those sound like? That's the arts. Our future economy is in creativity. Our future of our world in solving our environmental problems and our governmental problems is in creativity. So space, time, supply, and membership, support the arts, because they're gonna be so that you can spend time with your grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and everyone gets to. So that's really that's how I put the button on the conversation, is that to me, arts, it's not a panacea. I'm not so high in the sky that's a panacea, but I think we can all agree. We're 4 experts right here, 6 experts right here. The arts have solved the problems we have seen. So why aren't we just putting our time, talent, and treasure where our proof is?
And that's data. Well, we're next going to be bringing on Connie's Floyd. I'm just floored by the expertise and the reflection of not only what the arts does for our students, but what it does for society at large. And it was a pleasure and it's an honor to hear such statements in advocacy for what it is that we care about, and trying to get more of we're trying to get more people on our team.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Yes, this was amazing. Like I was in the chat box just chatting it up with everybody because I was having a ball because you all were dropping gems. Like I'm just like the mics were dropped during this conversation. So I want to thank Krystal and Kristen for co-moderating the conversation. Thank you both. And special shout outs to the panel, Stephen, Brian, Sandra, and Christopher. Thank you all for joining us. To everyone, thank you for attending and supporting this event. Please stay tuned. Same time, same place next week. We are going to have a conversation about how decisions are made, and we're going to have 2 policymakers on it too. So we're going to have a senator and a delegate. So please, please come on for that conversation. Every Thursday, we have an advocacy activity that we all want you to enjoy. So please follow AEMS. Make sure you follow us at Arts Ed Maryland. And again, please join your professional associations. We link them all. So MMEA, MAEA, MDEA, MTEA. We have you all linked up. I tried to spit it off. I was almost there. I was on a roll. But you all are amazing, and thank you for doing the work that you all do. And one of the earlier comments talked about collaboration, and this is the time for us to collaborate so that we can really make a systems change. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week.